Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us here today for another session of the first Brazil-Canada Agriculture Forum. I'm Carolina Albernas, CEO of the Brazil-Canada Chamber of Commerce, and on behalf of the organizers, we would like to welcome you here today. This event is being organized by the Brazil-Canada Chamber of Commerce in partnership with the Câmara de Comércio Brasil-Canadá, the CCBC based in São Paulo, and I'll be your MC today, together with Elisa Nolli, Business Development Coordinator at the CCBC. Just a few housekeeping rules. Speakers will be available to answer questions after all the presentations are done. So questions should be asked through the Q&A box located in the bottom of your screen. We have allowed attendees to upvote and answer questions to incentive positive discussion. So feel free to add comments or questions throughout the presentations, and we'll do our best to address all the points raised during the Q&A session at the end of the program. So with you, I'd like to invite Elisa to say a few words before we start the event today.
So good afternoon, everyone. As Carolina mentioned, my name is Elisa Nolli, and on behalf of the CCBC, I would like to welcome you all to the third session of the first Brazil-Canada Agriculture Forum. As Carolina mentioned as well, today we're going to focus on the Agritech trends and opportunities. So, and to start our event, I would like to introduce and welcome our first guest, Giovanna Araújo, Partner Agribusiness Market at KPMG Brazil, to present the panel, The Role of Technology for the Future of Agriculture. Welcome, Giovanna.
Thank you, Elisa. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Giovanna Araújo. As Elisa said, I'm a sector leader of agribusiness at KPMG Brazil. It's a pleasure to join this session of the first Brazil-Canada Agricultural Forum. I'd like to thank the Brazil-Canada Chamber of Commerce for the invitation. And my challenge today is to talk about the role of technology for the future of agriculture in Brazil, which is a hot topic at this moment. And there is a good reason for that. Brazil is the largest net food exporter of the world nowadays, and it has a key role in the agricultural agenda of food security. We can start with setting the scene, giving the next slide, please. Giving a picture of the size of the agribusiness in Brazil's economy. The agribusiness sector accounted for 27% of Brazil's GDP last year, with a gross income generated of roughly 2 trillion reais. It was responsible for almost half of the country's export revenues. It was one of the few sectors that showed growth last year in the country, 24% year over year, considering the combined growth of prices and volumes. It's a sector that has shown resiliency in crisis. And just to have an idea, the average growth rate in the last 25 years of the sector's gross income was 8% in real terms, so excluding inflation. Brazil was only able to deliver this robust growth over the time due the massive use of technologies linked to biological process, such as efficient plant nutrition, technologies linked to physical process, so agricultural machineries. In all of this combined, and now a new avenue of growth, it's being developed based on the combination of biological, physical, with digital technologies, which will be leveraged with the expansion of connectivity in the fields in Brazil. It's what we are calling here in Brazil a new quantum leap. Now we can move to the next slide. Still setting the scene, please, the next slide. As I said, it's still setting the scene. We indeed have a favorable momentum in Brazil for the agribusiness. So I'd like to highlight here the performance of the farming business, which combine agriculture and livestock. In average, the gross revenue of the farming business in Brazil grew a robust 57% in 2020. This is an average. Some agriculture segments, such as grains, for example, had a growth of 73% in its gross revenues. This favorable momentum must be considered when we think about the pace of digital technology adoption by the business going forward here in Brazil. So moving to the next slide, we can see the size and performance of the main segments of agriculture and livestock in Brazil. So next slide, please. This looking at gross value production in 2020, exactly. So in general, what we can say is that the segments with an export vocation have benefit last year, but within the same segment, there were companies that captured the favorable market momentum more than others, of course. But after all, what explained this leap in growth? So part of this growth can be explained by China, which has been our main trading partner for many years. It accounts for 34% of our exports in value. So in the last 25 years, Brazil has consolidated itself, as I said, as the largest net food exporter in the world, and China is the largest net food importer. We have heard that, we know that we have heard the engines behind that, essentially economic growth and the migration of the population from the countryside to the cities, the so-called urbanization. But in 2018, there was a new fact in China, which was the outbreak of swine fever. This decimated half of the pigs farms in the country, and since then the company, the country replaced it, all the production system by a more technical one, which demands more grains. So this generated a structure change in the demand for grains across the country. So these outbreaks of swine fever are still being observed in the country, and while production is not recovering, China, in addition to has demanding more grains and also increased the imports of meat from Brazil. So meat export from Brazil reached record levels in 2020. So in addition to all of that, we had this COVID, so which forced a replenishment of global food stocks, mostly due to the concerns about food security. So it boosted prices for most of the agriculture commodities globally. And also, in addition to that, we have here in Brazil a steep devaluation of Brazilian currency. So, which not only increases the competitiveness of the Brazilian products even more, but also substantially increases the profitability of the agribusiness exports, such as grains, meat, sugar, and ethanol, fruits also in 2020. Part of this growth is structural, and part is cyclical. In the short term, so international prices and exchange rate will remain at high levels. This may gradually subside over the next 2 years, but structural change that we mentioned here point to equilibrium in prices of most of agricultural commodities above historical levels. So in the medium term, we must see, it's important to bear in mind that the engines for expanding food consumption in China are still underway. So this is important to mention. Today, about 200 million families in the country, in China, have disposable income in excess of $35,000. In the upcoming 4 years, these numbers will double. The numbers of families with disposable income in excess of $35,000. So this will drive even more food consumption. So another aspect that we must not lose, it's important to bear in mind, is the role of biofuels in decarbonization of the matrix of transports globally, not only in Brazil, globally. So in the long run, everything will depend on technology and also innovation, and of course, its disruptive potential going forward. So we can move to the next slide. It's important to understand the challenges and opportunities that arise for agribusiness companies in Brazil. The first challenge that I would like to highlight here that arise in this whole picture is keep growing, preserving profitability. This means generating more value from the same asset base or expanding the asset base efficiently. And here, digital transformation will be essential. Producers face the challenge of transforming their business toward digital in Brazil nowadays, and this includes process, technology, people, purpose. But it's not only growth, it's with profitability. It's important to grow with sustainability. And here I would like to call your attention to one aspect. Brazil has the largest agro-environmental asset base in the world. So this put us in a very good position in the global green economy, where the carbon market will have an important role. So the potential for generating carbon credits and related income in Brazil is huge. And I have no doubt that the carbon credits will be a new currency in Brazilian agribusiness. So in connection with all of this, the first and second challenge, there is another challenge that arises in the sector, which is finance the growth. There is an ongoing marriage, let's put that way, in agribusiness in Brazil between the credit market and sustainability, and the financial market is key for that. Agribusinesses still need to diversify sources of capital in addition to what we call rural credit here in Brazil, debt operations, bonds linked to sustainability. We are seeing a lot of new debt instruments here in Brazil arising, linked to land, for example. Companies will also have to bring equity through M&A or IPOs. There is a very good pipeline of agribusiness companies seeking to list shares in the stock market. So there is a plenty room for disruption regarding financing this agribusiness, which is linked to the new regulation of credit and payments in Brazil, the so-called open banking. This is an interesting place for disruptions in Brazil. So, and finally, the challenging of creating seals of trust, let's put that way, with all stakeholders, in special with consumers. Consumers are the main agents of disruption, and we must not forget that. There is already all of this is already a reality for many producers in Brazil, but this dynamic will expand and will be accelerated in the coming years. And the main accelerators are connectivity, rural connectivity, 5G, digital transformation, agriculture 5.0, changes in the rural credit linked to sustainability goals, the new regulation of credit and payments, as I said, with the open banking, the low carbon economy, and innovation linked to all of that. And here the agtechs plays a fundamental role. So moving to the next slide, just to put to highlight some additional trends. What I'd like to share here is that a message that new technologies and innovation are reshaping all aspects of the agri-food value chain, from the concept of what is a farm and how to produce it, new products, and the way products are processed, distributed, and consumed. The traditional concept of a linear value in the chain is shifting to a more complex network of relationships where the end consumer is the focal point. So agriculture 4.0, it's a highlight with IoT in all fields, equipment being monitored real time, which is bringing operational efficiency, safety of employees. So it's a highlight. Predictive digital solutions, another highlight, with a strong use of cognitive solutions to anticipate failures, for example, or specific events. What else? It's important to highlight here also the collaborative networks through innovation hubs. So this is also a highlight. So it's important to bear in mind that a new generation of farming is coming in Brazil, and they are much more appetite, open to new technologies and innovation. This is another accelerator of innovation in the agribusiness space in Brazil. So moving to the next slide, we can highlight here some disruptive trends in the agri-food value chain. Everything is moving very quickly here in Brazil, and some disruptive trends in the value chain are being observed. So the first trend is the consolidation of players, mainly in the input segment, but we are also seeing producers merging operations. We are seeing strong consolidation in the input distribution market, with investment funds entering the segment in Brazil. Another trend is the shortening of the chain. Some producers producers increasing direct sales to farmers, for example, doing trading. We are seeing some distribution companies trading, selling directly to the final markets in Brazil. So this is a change. Another trend, disruptive trend that comes with digital transformation is the valorization of data and the consequent view that competitive positioning is increasingly linked not only to customer knowledge, but also the ability to generate value through data insights. This is important. And another trend is that platforming, let's put that way, with the establishment of digital service platforms. This includes financial platforms, marketplaces, and finally, just to it's important to mention the trend linked. The trend of credit linked to data and ESG. So this is a change that coming with the regulators, and will raise the bar in terms of sustainability here in Brazil. And to conclude, now moving to the next slide, I would like to say that there is a substantial value to be unlocked and generated in Brazilian agribusiness. So despite the fact that 70% of the small and medium farmers in Brazil use internet in their homes, and roughly 60% use applications such as WhatsApp, for example, just 22% of the farmers in Brazil, small and medium farmers, use apps or programs for improvement of property management. Just 60% use sensors in the field. This is according to a research conducted by Imbraca. So there is a lot of room to expand technology in the fields, and this includes biological, physical, all these combined with digital. Another important highlight here is that just 23% of the Brazilian agriculture fields has internet coverage. Even for the larger producers in Brazil, they have just internet coverage in the headquarters of the farm. Full coverage, which is being something that's being, let's put that, articulated between the public and the private sector here in Brazil, will allow real-time solutions, for example, real-time applications in the field. So, and this will be a big change in terms of, will expected to bring a lot of productivity, increased productivity in the fields, and new business models also arising from that. So Brazil agribusiness is a fertile environment for investments, so we here at KPMG, we pleased to help all of you to better understand this environment, which is indeed in a very fast change nowadays in Brazil. So thanks very much for your time, and I'm open here for questions.
Thank you, Giovanna, for this great presentation. It was a great overview of the state of the Brazilian agriculture and how technology can really bring it to the next level. We know, I mean, it's been discussed before, connectivity is a big issue, but I know that there's a lot of work being done to improve that. So I appreciate, thank you so much for being here with us today. I don't see any questions from the audience, but if you do have any questions for Giovanna, if you would like to connect with her, please let us know, and we'll be happy to introduce and to make introductions. So thanks again for being here. It was a pleasure to have you speaking. at an event. So we've been hearing the past couple of sessions as well that Brazil and Canada have a lot of similarities when it comes to agriculture and a lot of room for collaborations. We're very happy to see both governments aligned when it comes to research and innovation, the future of agriculture, with some of government-to-government agreements, such as the one that we'll be presenting here today. In August 2020, Imbraca has signed a Memorandum of Understanding with Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada. And I would like to invite our next speaker, Dr. Alexandre Varela, coordinator of the Virtual Laboratory in Overseas, so LabX USA at Imbraca, to tell us about or speak about this agreement and how it could benefit the agriculture sector in both countries. Dr. Varela, it's a pleasure to have you here today. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Carolina. Thank you, Peter. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today and speak a little bit about our agreement between Imbraca and AAFC. I'm going to share my presentation right now. So my name is Alexandre Varela. I work for Imbraca. Imbraca is the Brazilian Agriculture Research Agency. It's a sister agency of AAFC, Agriculture, Agri-Food Canada. We have an office in overseas in the United States, and it's kind of representative of Imbraca in overseas in North America. So we call LabX program. It's the virtual laboratory in overseas. I am the coordinator of this office in North America, and we have another office in Europe, located in France as well. Just to give you a little bit of introduction of Imbraca. Imbraca is linked to the Ministry of Agriculture. Our mission is to provide research, development, and innovation solutions for the sustainability of agriculture and for the benefit of the Brazilian society. We have many research units all over Brazil. We are an agency with 8,200 employees. About 2,200 are scientists, most of them with PhDs. 43 research centers. They are research centers split in national thematic centers or national product centers, or what we call eco-regional centers. Our R&D program has 34 national portfolios. We have also 78 breeding programs in Imbraca, and as international scientific cooperation using this office here, the LabX US Canada, and also our office in Europe. That's our international platform at the moment. So those two LabX are the official representative of Imbraca in overseas. In fact, we are in the United States. We've been in the United States for 23 years. And after this agreement between Imbraca and Canada, we could extend our work to USA and Canada. We have also other technical cooperation programs with in Africa and all Latin America as well. Our portfolio, international portfolio nowadays is about 88 ongoing projects with 27 partners and countries and 62 foreign partners institutions. This is to show you about our national portfolio of R&D. We have 34 national portfolios. They are usually related to the most important topics for the Brazilian agriculture. For example, with the AFC, we have an agreement to start our work with these portfolios highlighted here: the automation, precision, and digital farming. Another one with biotechnology applied to agribusiness, and another one with grains. More of our national portfolios. We also set up with AFC some initial work with projects on climate change and also genetic resources. Also, it's important to say that Imbraca has an innovation program, particularly to partner with private companies. So we have projects in private-public partnerships, innovation-driven projects. are the base of these partnerships. We can also do co-funding research, and obviously Imbraca can share the intellectual property of rights when we co-develop or develop together any technology. Just to give an idea, our main technological assets are cultivars or animal lineage or races, agricultural inputs, industrial processes, agricultural process, machines and equipment, softwares, and cartographic assets. All our research projects are monitored by the TRL scale, the technology readiness level. So we can monitor how the technology development is going on inside all the projects. So this is the agreement we signed with Agriculture Agri-Food Canada last year, which allowed our LabX program in overseas to expand to Canada as well. It was great. This MOU was signed in July 2020, valid for a period of 5 years. We did, over this time, we did some work plans and proposals. We are now waiting for some financial support and negotiating between Imbraca and AFC and other partners. We decided to start our partnership with these 4 topics: biotechnology applied to agriculture, digital agriculture and automation, genetics on wheat and post crops, and climate change adaptation and resilience. Just to give an example of some of these projects we plan to do together and start with, in terms of biotechnology, we decide to work in terms of disease resistance targets, especially for grapes and wheat in the beginning. Also, we decided to do some work on improvement of nitrogen fixation and nitrogen uptake efficiency, especially in alfalfa and common beans. And also biotechnology work to enhance the seed protein content. In terms of digital agriculture and automation, we decided to work together to create deep learning data sets and models for apple yield detection and robotics. Also to promote the use of RadarSat, Constellation Mission, and Sentinel satellite on crop classification using data from Brazil and Canada. We decided to work together sharing protocols, integrating disease data, design disease risk mapping in both countries, and biovigilance platforms. And finally, to work together with problems involving big data, develop the ICAISA data standard protocols to ensure compliance with the international data sharing in precision agriculture. The other group worked with some research plan in climate change. It's an important issue for both countries and both agencies. So we decided to work initially with the impact of nitrogen inputs into conservation cropping systems with using cover crops or crop rotation. So analyzing what happens in terms of soil, plant and atmosphere, and greenhouse gas emissions, monitoring nitrogen balance in soil, crop atmosphere, and other studies. Also, we decided to do some evaluation in terms of impacts of soil conservation practices on soil carbon sequestration. So measuring also sequestering of CO2 from atmosphere and promoting soil carbon accumulation and stabilization and other important issues in this topic. Finally, we decided also to do some work in genetics, genetic resources, usually linked to the biotechnology studies as well. We decided to start with some important issues for wheat and beans, using our wheat and beans germplasms in both agencies. So exchange between Canada and Brazil, all information we have in our germplasm, including wheat and beans. testing some Canadian germplasm for resistance to wheat blast. This is an important disease in South America and also south part of Asia. So for Canada, would be a kind of preventive work to protect against this disease. And also other work including bacterial blight, root rot resistance, and early maturing germplasm for dry beans. And finally, there are some plans to do work together on biofortifications, evaluations of wet germplasm, looking for new cultivars with more higher nutritive value. So these are quickly the topics we have decided to start our works and cooperation with AAFC. Our MOU is a very broad, brings a very broad area for partnership. Other areas will be explored, but this is the essential part for the beginning. Thank you very much for your attention and for the invitation to be here today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Alexandre, for sharing all this valuable information with us. It was a really pleasure to have you here today. And to continue our agriculture forum, I would like to introduce the panelists of our next panel entitled Funding Mechanisms for Brazilian-Canadian SMEs Collaboration. I'd like to introduce our moderator today, Marie-Hélène Beland, Vice Consul and Trade Commissioner IST at the Consulate of Canada in São Paulo, Rhonda Goslin, Industrial Technology Advisor IRAP at NRC, Denise Nedermeyer from Mrp, and Luciana Hashiba from FAPESP. Welcome you all.
Thank you, Elisa. Welcome all. I'm pleased to be with you today with my colleagues from NRC and Brazilian partner from Mrp and FAPESP. So I'm Marie-Hélène Beland. I'm the STI Trade Commissioner at the General Consulate of Canada here in Sao Paulo. We have an STI agreement between Canada and Brazil, and it's been over 10 years now. And part of this agreement includes funding for companies wishing to do joint R&D for co-innovation to validate, adapt, or co-develop a new solution. So as part of the program, we also organize missions to facilitate finding a partner. And after these missions, often, or we do these ongoing every year in different sectors. There has been one actually in Agritech a couple of years ago. And after that, when there's a call for proposal, it's easier for companies who already know each other to be able to define their project and present a joint project, either when there's a call with Mrp or with FAPESP. I work with my colleagues across the platform to facilitate finding these partners. And the next one, just for you to know, so we had in different sectors. The next one will be in nanomed in nanotechnology for life science in October, and next year Industry 4.0 in forestry. So and when we organize this, we also work with the partners to make sure that throughout the different meetings organized, there is some synergies found out to facilitate the development of projects. And today, after my presentation, NRC will present exactly how the funding works on their part, and after that, Mrp and FAPESP from their side. So, but good to know that on a yearly basis, there is these calls for proposals. So if the current one is too tight, then there will be opportunities afterwards. So I'm part of a big team in Brazil, working with Canadian companies as well as Brazilian contacts to find synergies. So either for Canadian companies wanting to expand internationally and looking into the Brazilian market, we work to identify the partners, should it be for companies or different organizations, and always, and also with Brazilian firm looking for technologies in Canada and wanting to know more about the STI and the business ecosystem in Canada. So I won't, because I think the most important right now for all of you is to know exactly how these calls for proposal works, what needs to be prepared, what are the different parameters to take into consideration. So first, I would like to ask Rhonda Goffin from NRCIRAP to present the program.
Thank you, Marie-Helen, and I want to thank the organizers, both Chambers of Commerce in Canada and Brazil, and of course my colleagues for coming together again, for PESPI and Imbraca with Global Affairs. And if we could bring up my presentation, I'll just highlight, I will highlight the organization I work for, which is the National Research Council. You can go to the next slide. And so I've been with the NRC for about 22 years as an industrial technology advisor. And the National Research Council is committed to advancing science and advancing the business innovation of Canadians, policy solutions for government, and advancing the knowledge through science as the Government of Canada's largest federal research and development arm. It does that, the NRC does that through its 2,000 plus scientists who focus on innovation for the benefit of Canadians, as well as which those scientists, of course, are spread out across the country. And the current trend is 5 research divisions with 14 research programs. We also have an arm of the National Research Council called NRC Industrial Research Assistance Program. And that program is focused on accelerating the growth of SMEs through innovation. And that's done through the 255 plus industrial technology advisors spread out across the country who are really working on the floor, on the ground with SMEs. And in addition to that, we have 10 international ITAs. And I am, although I've been with NRC for 22 years, the last 2 or 3 years, I've been an international ITA, so focused on the international aspects of IRAP and focused on the aspects of accelerating growth of SMEs through innovation globally. And NRC is a very unique model, and we assist our companies through 2 means. One is through the financial contributions, and the other one is through advisory service, both business and technical. Next slide. As I mentioned, the international program is relatively new within NRC. It's only been around since 2013, but we've been growing the program, creating MOUs, focused on creating international partnerships that will encourage and allow and support our companies, both SMEs as well as groups of SMEs, to participate in collaborative co-innovation projects abroad. And Canada has a number of bilaterals like with UK, Germany, and Japan. It also participates for many years now in the Eureka framework. And we also, in partnership with our Global Affairs Canada colleagues, Marie-Helen and others at GAC, we deliver this Canadian International Innovation Program. And that's really what we're going to focus on today. So next slide, please. So the CIIP program, as we call it, is jointly delivered by GAC and IRAP. And it targets 5 economies, and I'm just going to focus on Brazil, of course. And the focus of that program is SME to SME support of joint R&D, but also with our new partnership with Imbraca, it allows our Canadian companies to actually collaborate with multinationals as well. So this is an amazing opportunity for Canadians of any sector in Canada to work not only with SMEs, but MNEs in Brazil. The program itself has a $5 million program. We're constantly pushing to increase that because the demand is increasing, particularly in Brazil and Canada as well. But right now, I think I have about 1.3 million per call per economy. And the whole program for CIIP is focused on the IRAP model. So if you are currently an IRAP client, you will understand what I mean by that. If you're not an IRAP client and you want to participate in any of the calls for proposals between Canada and Brazil, you will have to register and become an IRAP client. So just keep that in mind. The funding is based on the IRAP model, and this is for Canadian companies only. And that is up to 50% of eligible project costs to a max of $600,000. Projects typically are 12 to 24 months, and the model and the eligible costs are that of the IRAP model. And I do stress that. Next slide, please. So what have we done under the CIIP with our partners in Brazil? The program is about 5 years, and we've had 4 calls for proposals. 3 of them actually have been with FAPESP, because as mentioned earlier by Maria Helen, we have 2 MOUs, one with FAPESP and now one with Imbraca. And the models that are highlighted, SME to SME, FAPESP will talk about that. Imbraca is a Canadian SME to an SME of any, or a Brazilian firm of any size, plus an Imbraca unit, and Denise will talk about that. In terms of our uptake so far, we've had 8 successful projects, 7.6 million investment between our 2 economies, and 2.3 million out of the CIIP. And we are very excited about our very first call for proposals with Imbraca, which was launched April 28, and the first round of projects will be due September the 1st. Next slide, please. And I think that might be my last one. Yes, it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Rhonda. And now we would like to hear from the Brazilian partners, because on their side, they will have some different rules and parameters. So please first, Denise, if you could explain a bit more about the Mrp model.
Thank you, Marie-Hélène. Hello, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here with you today. Can you see me? I'm just seeing Marie-Hélène. It's okay? All right. So I'm going to present you Mrp. I will talk a little bit about Mrp, which is very similar to Imbraca, what you just heard of. And Mrp stands for the Brazilian Agency for Research and Industrial Innovation. And after talking a little bit about Mrp, I will focus on the call that Mrp has with NRC. And I'm going to share my screen with you. So Mrp, Mrp has a contract with the Ministry of Science and Technology, Ministry of Education, and also Ministry of Health to develop, to help the Brazilian industrial sector to become more innovative and more competitive in the national and the international environment and scenario. So when this public funding from the ministries comes to Mrp, it becomes private, because Mrp, it's a private non-profit organization, and it was created specifically to help the Brazilian industrial sector to become more innovative, because it was understood that it was missing in the Brazilian environment a specific agency to help them to bridge the companies with all the capacity, scientific capacity that is already in place in Brazil. So the Mrp model is a bottom-up model. We answer for the demands of the industry, for the companies. Is a very flexible, because since Mrp is private, we don't have to go through all those process of bid. Of course, we have to be accounted for all the money that we receive from the country, but the model of allocating the funding can be totally different from the governmental practice. And most of all, Mrp, it was created to minimize and to help the investor, the private investor, to have less risk in their research and in their innovative products. Mrp works only with R&D projects that are developed in TRL 3 to 6. As you've seen with Imbraca goes all through the TRLs, but Mrp just 3 to 6. In some specific exceptions, it can go up to TRL 9 regarding some research linked to COVID and with the funding from BNDES. So this is very important for all the companies to understand that this is exactly the phase of research, applied research, that Mrp can fund. And this research necessarily needs to be done in one of the Mrp accredited units that I will talk a little bit about this soon. The funding model of Mrp is something shared. It's not totally, MRP doesn't fund all the project. It has up to 1/3 of the project cost can be done with resources from MRP that are already in the units. So you don't have to, the company doesn't have to go through a process of presenting a proposal, going through a peer review process of evaluating the merit of the proposal. No, everything is directly discussed with the MRP unit that has the resources with them. And if everything goes well, you don't need to, the company doesn't need to wait for the funding to be released. The MRP units can participate up to 1/3 of the cost of the project with in-kind resources. That means contracting people, paying for consumables, paying for trips, paying for services. Services can be contracted. And the company needs to participate with a share of resources from their own, at least 30% as well. So the company and the unit that will be developed the project, they can discuss how much it will be from each side. This is the model that we have, that is the main, how can I say, pattern that we fund. However, we have some grants to help the companies to put their share. For example, we have resources from SEBRAE that are already in the MRP units. The company doesn't have to go to SEBRAE to ask for funding. We have also funding from the Rota 2030, another source of grant, and also from PPIOT. So there's a kind of a basket of grants to help the company to put their share in the projects. Regarding the partnership we have with NRC, we follow our model of funding, as Rhonda just said, and the Canadian companies will follow the NRC IRAP model of funding, but there's no transfer of funding between the countries. Each side funds its companies, and the funding already in MRP units, and we don't transfer funding for the companies as well. Each one just puts their funding in the project. And I know that for the Brazilian companies, this is something challenging, but as I said, we have some other types of funding to help them. And what is really attracting about this model is that everything is discussed directly with the unit, including the intellectual properties issues. So MRP, the headquarters here in Brasilia, or the MRP unit, they don't fight for the IP. This is, we understand that this is for the company because we want a new process to go to the market, so that we facilitate all that is possible in terms of intellectual property. When I say about MRP units, this is research centers that are accredited by a public call and goes through a very competitive process of selection. And once this unit is accredited as an MRP unit, they receive funding directly from MRP. They are very independent, even if they are in a university or if they are in a private research center. So there's a kind of a research cell, a very, how can I say, excellence in terms of their area of competence. They have very qualified researchers. They have all the facilities that is required for them to just engage in an R&D project immediately. They don't have to buy, they are ready to receive the demand from the company and to develop the project. As you can see, we are spread all over Brazil, and each one of these dots, which means each one of these research centers, has a specific area of competence. For example, smart system, smart energy system. We have many in agriculture, many in Agritech, for example, agricultural technologies. We have many units in artificial intelligence as well, and health technology. So there's a lot of things that we can put together to help the companies to develop their specific research project. And I would just want to share with you this one, which is a way to show that in the main area, like Industry 4.0, we have many units that can work with that, either in bioeconomy or intelligent products or advanced manufacturing or artificial intelligence. So there's how can I say, a network of very ready units ready to answer for the demand of the companies. And so I would like to invite you to go to the Mrp website and just look over the units, because maybe you can have some more questions, and I'm here to help. I'm the person in charge of the international collaboration, and if you have any question, please, I'll be happy to answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Denise. I would like to let everybody know that after the next presentation, I will be doing some questions. So if you have some already, please don't hesitate to write them in the discussion or in the Q&A chat, so I can ask them afterwards. So now, please, Luciana, if you could present about the PP program. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie-Hélène. I'd like to thank everyone for the opportunity to share with you what we are doing within FAPESP. Let me just share the presentation with you. So FAPESP is the State of São Paulo funding agency for research. We are going to focus today on the Innovation Research Small Business programs that we call PP, that in Portuguese, it's the Innovation Research Small Business program. This program is exists from '97, and it's really the program focused on technological innovation for SMEs. So it's a program that it's focused on projects for technological innovation research for companies that have till 250 employees. So we might have medium companies as well, because we don't have a limit for income, and they have to be in São Paulo state. So they have to do the research and the projects within São Paulo state. I brought some numbers for you just to understand this program. We have almost 2,700 projects already awarded. We've been growing this funding since the beginning of the program, the existence of the program. We've already had almost 1,070 companies being awarded. We have more than one project for each company, but we do have quite a lot of companies within this program, and we have reached quite a lot of cities in São Paulo. So many incubators, especially directly related to universities, have spin-offs or startups that applied for this program as well. I brought just some examples. We found in very different areas, but for this event especially, I brought some examples of companies that we have founded, like Xbot, that have drones with sensors and software for mapping and control. We have this Bug, that is a biological control startup, and they have a different technology that works with the pest egg control, so they are more preventive than other companies. And from it, that is an integrated pest management. With NRC, we had call for proposals, and one example that it's a very successful example was this project that was made together. Tessera, that is a Canadian company, with Visiona, that is a Brazilian company, and both SMEs, that had a product on remote sensing solutions for forest inventories, that it's cheaper, faster, and have better precision. So this is the kind of collaboration that we hope to get in this call of proposals. And one thing that is especially important is that FAPESP doesn't make the match of companies, Canadian companies with Brazilian companies, but we do have, and this QR code let you go inside the base, the virtual library that we have there, where you can find many of the companies, all of the companies that had already applied for this program, to try to find matches and areas that are related to your interests. And within São Paulo State, there are also many other references where you can find Agritech startups, like Agritech Valley in Piracicaba. So we have in Ribeirão Preto, Supera, that is an incubator, a technological park that has an incubator as well. São José dos Campos, São Carlos. So all those organizations have Agritech companies, because this program is focused on SMEs in Brazil, and connecting to SMEs in Canada, and joining through a project, a technological innovation project, to be funded. So this is a way of connecting and being prepared to what we hope will be soon a new call for proposals in partnerships between FAPESP and NRC. So that's the overview. There are some other links, QR codes for other sites of FAPESP if you ever want to know a little more about FAPESP and other projects. But that's what I wanted to show you, and I think the most interesting part of all our panel will be the way of talking to you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Luciana. As we have I have a couple of questions, and I will go after to the chat. As we have the current call with Mrp, my first question is for Denise, and I got that question today, so that's quite relevant. So we have a Canadian company interested in working with the Brazilian. They've agreed on the project. They want to move forward. The question for the Brazilian is how to find the right Mrp unit.
Well, I understand that the Brazilian company is looking for an Mrp unit, right? Okay, so we have two options. First of all, I would suggest that you go to our webpage and look for all the profiles of the Mrp unit. Once you have identified 1, 2, or 3, because it may be more than one, you can get in contact directly with the coordinator of the unit. And we have these contacts on our webpage as well. And once you get the contact with the coordinator, you should do your pitch. You should sell your idea to the coordinator, because Mrp units, they are totally autonomous to say yes or no to a proposal. So you must convince the person you're talking to, and this person will be very experienced in terms of managing R&D projects, that your project is very, how can I say, doable, and that it has a great chance to go to the market. Otherwise, they may say, no, I'm not interested, and then you won't find the Mrp unit to develop your project. If the unit say yes, okay, you'll have 80% of the project agreed, and then you will start to make the whole proposal together with your Canadian partner and all the partners from the Canada and Brazilian to get the proposal, how can I say, aligned and together to be presentable. And of course, Mahelian, I can also help. If anyone needs help in identifying, I'm here to help as well.
Okay, thank you, Denise. Next question is more like more generally for Brazilian and Canadian companies. How they, what are the best practices to present a joint proposal? What have you seen in terms of what catch the attention of the funding agencies to accept also a project?
I can just start, and my colleagues can add in. I believe one of the very first things we encourage is that companies, Brazilian or Canadian, must reach out to the funding partner you have with NRC. The very first step for any Canadian SME is to start immediately with the process with either your lead ITA that you're already an IRAP client, or you need to become an IRAP client. You really need to start that process. And once you do that, whether you're in, working with Imbraca or you're working with NRC, the idea is to start early. Start the process early we will guide you. Denise and I will work with our clients and our colleagues, and we will help you walk through that entire process. And I know the same goes for PESPI, or we've done some work together. And I think reaching out to the organization and making sure you understand all of their criteria is key. And I will just add before I pass it over to my colleagues, the second thing is to understand that the programs have different budget eligibility requirements, right? So when you're building a project, you can't assume that the things that are going to be funded are the same. And so again, knowing the program in which you're working, whether it be for PESPI, IRAP, Imbraca, and understanding the program criteria and eligibility aspects will help you better shape that project. And share that with your colleagues, abroad, so that you can jointly develop that project together. I'll let my colleagues add.
Can I add to what Rhonda has just said? I would like to add that when you think to apply for this collaboration, you should have in mind that this is not a technological transfer type of collaboration. The project, the proposal needs really to bring something innovative to the product of the process, and must be both of interest of Canada and Brazil. So this is something that must be considered in the project, something really that both countries can benefit, both enterprises, companies, startups can benefit of this. And of course, it is something that can go to the market in Brazil, Canada, and internationally as well. So this is not a matter of bringing a product to Brazilian market or vice versa, nor a technological transfer. It's something really that needs to be developed to add a value to the product or process that you are trying to develop together with your foreign partner. That's it. Thank you.
I just want to reinforce what Denise and Rhonda were saying, that the requirements are always something that you have to really pay attention, and you have to have a technological challenge. Then you have to have a good project, and by that I mean have clear objectives, clear methodology to really face this technological challenge. And one thing that works quite well here in Brazil is joining together with some we call facilitators, that might be incubators or accelerators or technology innovation agencies of universities that can support the way of writing and proposing this kind of project as well.
Thank you, Luciana. Yeah, it's very important, and we've seen it in the past, in the past few years, the importance of following the different requirements, and also be aware, I think, for some projects, and maybe Rana, you can speak about that too, like what is funded by each organization, and how to write your project knowing this, so it has a flow and you can maximize the project.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I think there is a joint proposal process that partners must complete together. And in doing that process, there needs to be really good communication. And that's where understanding the eligibility criteria of their respective foreign body programs, that you're able to bring that to the proposal when you're in developing that, and maximize the benefits of that for both countries, right? And so I think, I would stress the importance of starting early. If you find a partner, start right away. Don't think, oh, we'll start next week or next month. Really get the discussions going. And use the chambers of commerce, use your networks, as Luciana said. to bring in the partners to make your application successful. What does it take to make it, a good successful application with FAPESP or with Mrp or with IRAP, and work through that process. And I also want to stress that if you don't make this call, so we have a call for proposals coming up September 1st. We are going to be working on a call for proposals, our 4th one with FAPESP in the fall. We will have another one with Imbraca, and we're going to alternate those partnerships and those calls so that there's going to be continuum momentum. So I would encourage you to find the right partner, and that's good for you, and continue to get it. And when the project is right for both partners, then put it in place for a call. And if you miss that deadline, don't worry about it, continue, because relationships take time. They take time to make good projects, and you will get the next one.
Exactly. And it's important to have a good relationship to make these projects successful. When you start a project, they go on for a year and a half, 2 years, and after that the relationship continues. So that's a very important aspect. I think we are coming to an end of the time that was allocated to us. Elisa, maybe you can confirm. That. So thank you so much to all of our presenters. And please, if you are interested in future call, if you're interested in SCI partnerships, do not hesitate to get in touch with us so we can support you in your endeavors.
Thank you, Marie-Hélène. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Varela. Thank you, Honda. Thank you, Luciana. Thank you, Denise, for all this useful information. And again, for the companies watching us, find a partner, come to us. We can help you connect with Rhonda, connect with Denise, with Luciana, with Marie-Hélène. This is the group that can help you guys to really understand how the process works, and it's a great program for collaborative innovation. So we look forward to a lot of companies applying and hopefully increasing and growing this program in the future. So now when we go moving on the program, I would, the Brazilian innovation ecosystem is booming right now, and there's a lot of opportunities happening in Brazil. And we've been seeing a lot of opportunities for Canadian agtechs. We've been showing you guys the size of the market and how advanced a lot of those practices in Brazil are. So with that in mind, I would like to introduce our next panel that will discuss the overview of the Brazilian ecosystem for agtechs. And so thanks for, I'm gonna guess our speakers today. Let's organize Marco Ripoli. I think I blocked some of the cameras, so I'm just gonna go here. Professor Sergio, we have Otávio joining us today as well. Karen is here as well, and Ariadne, here he goes. Let me just make sure that, perfect. So thank you everyone for joining us here today. And Marco, as the moderator, it's your stage. Thank you.
Well, hello everyone. I'd just like to make a quick audio check. Is everyone hearing me well?
Yes.
Excellent. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to wherever you are today in the world. We benefit from doing this digital things because we can gather a lot of people, and this is the beauty about technology, getting us together closer and closer and bringing more knowledge and technology to our hands. First of all, Carolina and Elisa, I would like very much to thank you for the invitation. I believe this is our second or third event that I'm able to support CCBC, and it's been really a pleasure to be part of this. With no further ado, we have 4 excellent speakers today. And on behalf of them, I would like officially to welcome you all. And I'll be briefly talking a little bit about who I am, why I'm here, and I'll set the stage for our guests to speak and make a lot of interesting connections with you all today. So I'm gonna present my screen real quick. It's only 3 slides, so I promise you I won't bother you as much. But just once again, confirming that you all can see my slides. Can you?
Yes, we see everything fine.
Okay, thank you so much. So my name is Marco Ripoli. I'm a multi-entrepreneur here in Brazil and founder of the O Agro Não Para program, which is the Non-Stop program. It's an international transformational program in agribusiness. I'm the owner for Bioenergy Consulting Company, which is a 10-year-old consulting company in Brazil. But my major is agronomy engineering in Exalc, graduated in '99. Had the benefit to finish my University of California as well. My degrees in master degrees at Exalc on ag machinery. So I'm very much connected to technology and solutions. I've done a PhD at UNESCO at 2004, where I brought in the energy concept to the agriculture. I've worked for more than 14 years as an executive for John Deere and Case worldwide in different functions today. But mostly what I like to say that today I'm like to be like entrepreneur, an innovator, a mentor, and a speaker. I do invest in a lot of companies in Brazil today. It's about 10 different companies on ag tech, food tech, beverages, fintechs, and tech techs. But I think the most important things about these conversations today is to be able to connect and see opportunities, especially for the companies that are sitting in Canada. They're looking for opportunities in Brazil. Okay. Very briefly, Bioenergy is a respected consultancy company that's been doing business in Brazil since 2009. And Agro-Para, as I mentioned, is the transformational program focused on innovation. So as I said, that was going to be very, very fast. And what I'd like to bring to all of you today to set the stage in this important Brazilian agtech environment situation is that comparing from 2020, last year, the last research done by the people at Radar Agtech came up with a number of 40% more agtechs in Brazil compared to 2019. So this is an incredible number for all of us. This was new to me. I got this report last night, and it was very, very interesting to see the content of this, because in this report, they mentioned that sometimes we had like very bad things related to the pandemic worldwide, but to the agtech world, the pandemics were kind of turned out to be a good thing, because people would have to bring more information, bring more solutions and tools for customers around the world. And they took that advantage of being sometimes at home or locked in an office. But just the way it is. In Brazil today, everyone, there are 316 cities that already have some sort of agtechs, which 50% of them are located in the state of São Paulo. And that's probably obvious, because the state of São Paulo is the most populated state in Brazil. It's not the biggest one, not by far the biggest, but it's the most populated one, and probably the one that's our economic center today. 345 of those ag startups are located in São Paulo city, which is today becoming the biggest, I don't want to say the biggest hub, but the biggest concentration of agtechs in Brazil. 60 agtechs are located in Piracicaba, at Vale do Piracicaba, as was mentioned by our previous speakers in previous sessions today. But fortunately, as I said, pandemic came right. But more than 50%, everyone, of our agtech solutions in Brazil, they are made for some sort of after the farm. So when we talk about marketplaces, trading and platforms, when we talk about buying things, this is where most of the companies are looking at today. And about, I would say, 35% are in farm, and the 15% are for other things that can be accessed to the farm-wise. There is about 300 of them working on improving food and nutrition qualities. It's very important to mention that, because we understand that many countries do have land limitations. They have some sort of constraints, not water sometimes, weather, and not just land. But a vast majority, if you see that, about 300 of them are looking at improving food nutrition quality. So going to the genetics, going to the DNA, going to the probing, going to the cross-referencing of the species to bring more value out of the food. Well, Brazil is an environment the most developed in the world. As it was mentioned from our colleague from KPMG as well, is the biggest net producer in the world of food today. We are first in many commodities. We only lose for United States and a few of those, but it's very important for any company in the world. And I talk this from experience, that if it is wanting to do business and grow in the world, they first need to grow in Brazil. Because if a solution works in Brazil, it will work in the rest of the world, okay? It's nice to say, especially for our folks in Canada, around the world that's watching us today, 24% of our GDP comes from livestock and agriculture in Brazil. So it's a very significant chunk of the economic that's coming out from those farms, from those lands. More than 45% of our exports today are from the same sector. So it's very relevant, especially today. 1/3 of all jobs in Brazil, okay, this is direct and indirect jobs. They are some sort related to agribusiness and livestock. This is very important because when we talk about livestock, it's not talking about land, not about talking about machinery, tools, but we also talk about people, about families that we need to feed. 244 million in Brazil are arable land, and we have another 158 million hectares of pastures. So I bring this number to your attention because there is a vast discussion around the world where people are always saying things about the right usage of Brazilian land and what our governors, our farmers are doing today. So I just want to show that when we talk about 244 million plus 158, this is more than 400 million hectares. In Brazil, it's nice to know that 66% of our land is protected. So there are laws, there are farmers, there are government institutions, there are companies that are protecting land, and those lands are not touchable at all. And another important point that we mentioned in the previous conversation today is that connectivity is a very, very important issue. And more than 95% of our farmers here in Brazil, they're willing and interested in having digital solutions. But only when you have less than 2%, everyone, of connectivity, this brings you a vast, very big, impressive opportunity for companies that want to work with that. So this is why we see the 5G coming out today. But from my point of view, we need to get better on our 4G structure around the farms and fields, because normally in Brazil and anywhere around the world, what we see is that we have connectivity, we have coverage over cities and small cities, but when you go out on the farm, you don't have anything like that, okay? So this is just an opening statement that I would like to set the stage for our friends here today. I'm gonna remove the slides real quick and say that I'll hand the voice to our friend Otávio Facilitônio. He's the executive director for AgriHub. He's located in Cuiabá, state of Mato Grosso, one of the most promising ag states in Brazil, and would say even in the world. So Otávio, welcome to the conversation. We're very fortunate to have you here today, and the stage is yours.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor to present a little about AgriHub and talk about our ecosystem. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, great. Well, Marco gave a great overview about Brazil and about our agtech ecosystem. So he helps me a lot. Well, I will talk a little about Mato Grosso state, where we are placed, where we born. And talking about AgriHub, I will explain a little bit about what happened from where we begin until now, and maybe show you a little how we are our ecosystem is evolving. So here, Mato Grosso is the main state in terms of production in Brazil. We have the biggest herd of cattle. We are the first producer of soybean, cotton, and corn. We produce here like more than 30 million tons of soybeans. This represent more than something around 10% of the world production. So we have a huge production here. Mato Grosso is actually a very huge state, have the same size than Germany and France together. But we have here just a small population with 3.5 million people living here, just 2% of Brazil population. Our GDP, it's around 4.3% from Brazil, but we are growing a lot. Thanks to the agribusiness sector that represents more than 50% from our GDP. So this is what we are producing right now, 73 million tons of grains using the area 2 times a year. So we produce in something around 10 million hectares, we produce soybean as a first crop. And in the same year, we produce corn also using something around 50% from this area. And also we have a lot of pasture land, more than 20 million hectares, like Marco said. We can convert a lot of this area to produce grains, so we can improve a lot of our production without deforestate more. And it's important to say we are right now, in the next slide you will see, we are in the south of Amazon region, and we still preserve 65% from our region. It's also very important to say that AgriHub born in the farmers representative system. So AgriHub is a non-profit institute created by FAMATO. FAMATO is our farm bureau, and we were created by FAMATO, by IMEA, which is the kind of think tank institute here that we created in 2008. I was the CEO from this institute, and because of that, we understand that we need to move to help the entrepreneurs to build solutions to the agribusiness sector. So this is why we started AgriHub. And also it's part of our ecosystem, Senar, which is the rural learning institution from Mato Grosso State. So Senar provides a lot of courses, to mainly hands-on trainments to the farmers and their laborers. So these three institutions created AgriHub first as a program. So in 2006, we was launched. At that time, there wasn't other institutions, other hubs, or even accelerators focused exclusively in the agribusiness sector. So we was there when the agtech movement was beginning here in Brazil. And from 2006, we start to, of course, create a network with producers to understand what are their main issues, and of course start to talk about this for the entrepreneurs and bring them to the game. And after that, well, we start to go to the countryside to present some startups and help them to meet with these new technologies. In 2019, we launched the AgriHub Space, which is a co-working here, and we did that with support from some private companies. We have 4 companies supporting this initiative. Also, I will talk a little bit about this. And as we launch the AgriHub Space, our program becomes big. So we decide to spin off AgriHub as an institute. So I came in 2020. I worked in IMEA, as I said, until 2016. Then I was the CEO from Senar from 2016 to 2020. And in 2020, I came to AgriHub to spin off the institute and deal with the new technology and open innovation. So what we are doing right now, we work with these 3 pillars: tech diffusion, open innovation, and some projects orchestration. This is really nice. The technological diffusion, it's something really nice, and I think there is a lot of opportunities to talk about with some Canadian startups. So here in this program, we are building a platform. So in this platform, we are doing a kind of mapping of the issues, looking at by process to show the technologies from the producer's view. not from the technological view that is usually shown by the startup. So we are trying to understand, to create a communication language to show what are the opportunities to the producers and help them to improve. At the same time, we are starting a mapping of these technological solutions. Marco said that yesterday a report was launched that we have showing that we have more than 1,500 agtech startups here in Brazil. We are looking to have all these startups at this platform, and of course, all startups from other countries are welcome also. And well, with that, we will train some consultants to help them to implement these technologies on the farmers. And of course, we at the same time we have this farmers network to test the solutions and have this evaluation about any solution to understand which one is going better here, and of course help these ones to continue improving. So this is the diffusion pillar. We also have the open innovation front, where we work with these 4 companies: Agroamazonia, Bayer, Amage, and TMG. So we try to understand what are their main issues, and there's a difference between the diffusion front. Here we select some startups to develop solutions to these companies. In the diffusion, we just look what are the solutions that they have on their shelves. So here we really working to develop something new together with the startups. And well, the last front is the orchestration project. So here we have three main areas that we are working, and this front we work with collaborative projects that we have some different companies from the chains, and sometimes they have competitions at the market, but here they have to collaborate to help us to bring connectivity to the fields, to improve our climate forecasts, and also bring traceability. So we have some big projects in these areas also. So this is what we are doing right now, very fast. We can talk a little bit more. Our team is growing up. We are in 7 people, more the trainees. And thank you. We will discuss a little bit more about Brazil, AgriHub later. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Otávio. A few comments about your presentation. Great content. Thank you so much for putting that together in such easy way. To our folks watching us today, 10% of the worldwide soybean production is done in Mato Grosso. I think this is the number that we have to have in mind, because this is one single state in Brazil that produces that, not all states in Brazil. So I'm glad to see that. And congratulations about everything that you guys are doing in Cuiabá area, because the way you landed and set the pillars of the AgriHub, that's the key to success. I mean, having the right people, the right structure, that delivers the right solution. So congratulations about that, Otávio. So
thank you,
moving on to our next. Thank you. So we're going to be moving on to Professor Sergio Pascalachi. He's a board member of Agritech. This is an incubator company inside Exalc at the University of São Paulo. So Professor, welcome, and the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Marco. I will show you my presentation regarding Agritech, and I would like to thank you all for this opportunity about talking about the incubator at the university. Well, basically, in our case, The incubator is connected to the university, and as Marco said, I'm a Sergio, and I'm a full professor, senior collaborator at ESALC. I'm a former president of the Agritech Council. I'm a member now. Professor Felipe Pilau is the president of the council, and I'm the founder and president of a startup called the Lab Biotechnology that I will, at the end, I will use as an example of startup connected to the university. So for those that doesn't know or do not know, here is Canada, down here is Brazil, here is São Paulo state, and then we have Piracicaba city that's about 150 kilometers from São Paulo capital. As you can see here, we have a lot of players regarding the Agritech Valley. This is a very nice place to be. As Mark said, 60 of the Agritech startups are here in Piracicaba, 50% are in São Paulo state, that's about 787 startups São Paulo state, 60 are here in Piracicaba. And we have very big companies that would have the hubs, we have the city municipality involved in this project, and then we have also universities, and I'm going to talk about Agritech and USP. Well, basically, it's funny, something's appearing up here. Well, USP is the major institution in Brazil regarding teaching and research. In the university, second one in Latin America. In 2000, well, this year, using this ranking here, it was number 128. And Luiz de Queiroz College of Agriculture is maybe one of the most important institutions regarding Brazilian agriculture in all the areas and so on. Regarding the Agritech, as I said, it's an incubator, technological incubator regarding agriculture. It's a program connected to the university. And as you can see in this map, here we have all this area here belongs to the university. Down here we have a farm, and the Agritech incubator is right there. And in this right side, you have the technology part. At the end, I'm going to show you a fast video regarding the part. The Agritech started in 1994. 2005, we had the kind of restructuration. And right now, after 15 years, we are starting a new structure that will be much better than the one that we have right now. And basically, we have three kinds of categories that people can join the incubator, you know. The ones that we call pre-incubate company, we have today 13. It means that it would be people that would have some kind of idea to get some knowledge and try to make that in an innovation product or service. Then we have 6 resident companies, because this is the space that they would occupy inside of the Agritech. And you have 114 associated companies. It means that any kind of company, big, small, startup, can be connected to Agritech. So basically, Agritech was the mission of Agritech. It bring people together that would do some kind of innovation regarding agriculture, you know, and show these people how to make that knowledge available as a service or new product. If you are connected to Agritech, we have some benefits, and I highlighted here the ones that are inside this red rectangle. Approach to Agritech University Department and faculty, so we can put people in contact with the departments and the professors, not only in Piracicaba, but in all the campi that belongs to São Paulo University. we have some kind of events like Agritech Day, where we put people together, investors, startups, and so on. And we have the physical facility at our farm where people can use the area to do some research if they want. So basically we have at this right side here all the areas where the Exalc is able to give support to any person that would like to do something regarding innovation in agriculture. These are some examples of startups that were born somehow connected to Agritech, and this is an example of a startup that was born inside the university with the help of the Agritech. So in the lab, the main working line is regarding phytopathology and plant growth. So what is done here is trying to induce resistance in plants against biotic and abiotic stresses, and also growth promotion and biological control. I'm one of the founders of the lab. It's an academic spin-off born at Exalc USP, and we try to bring solutions for agriculture by using the Brazilian biodiversity of microorganisms. And basically, this projection shows you Agritech right here, connected to the university. If someone wants to do something regarding innovation, related to agriculture, you just go to Agritech, for example, as we did. Then you are going to have all the support from the incubator, and then you are going to be able to start your project, let's say, and the Agritech will be able to put in contact with investors and other persons. And then today, for example, we are located here in the core of the Piracicaba Technology Park, and the Technology Park is under the umbrella of the Agritech Valley. Okay, well, basically, what I showed you is Agritech, that's an incubator connected to university, one of the most important ones in Latin America regarding agriculture, and the kind of facility that we have available to help any person that wants to go to this startup world, let's say. I'm a live example of someone that was at the university and now it's going to the private side of this Chinese wall, let's say, that was down, connecting university to the private companies. And here we have the website and email if anybody wants to talk to anybody at Agritech. And I have here a video that I'm gonna show you regarding the technology park. Basically, this is the technology park. There is another park behind this picture that you're not able to see, where we have the farm. And right now I'm talking to you from this building here where we have this startup. Well, I'm gonna try to show you a fast video regarding the.
There you go.
Can you see?
Yeah.
Well, this is what I had to show you.
Okay, Professor. Sergio, thank you so much for bringing in this point of view from the as Agritech, and most importantly about the environment, the ecosystem. For those of you that have not visited Piracicaba yet, I can say this is a city dearest to my heart because it's my hometown. And then thanks for bringing me such good memories, Professor. It's always nice to see the town, and especially the new developments that are going on our nearby areas. With no further ado, I would like to introduce you to Ariadne Caballero, or Caballero. I'm not sure the right pronunciations, but she's a partner at SP Ventures here in Brazil. It's a very important company about funding opportunities and a company that's envisioning, especially agtechs for future. But I'll let her speak, especially on how they can help those companies set foot on the ground in Brazil, right, Ariadne? And most importantly as well, what do they need to do to be operating in Brazil? So welcome to the discussion, and the stage is yours.
Thank you, Marco. Thank you for the intro. Hi, everyone. It is great to be here and be part of this virtual event. We are really huge admirers of the Canadian ecosystem, so it's really my pleasure to share a little bit about our history, about our view on what's going on in Brazil, and especially the opportunities, right, for Canadian entrepreneurs. I'm a partner at SP Ventures. We are the largest agritech VC fund in Latin America. A quick intro about me: I have been working in agribusiness for more than 12 years already. 7 of those years working very closely with agritech companies all over the world. Previously to SPV, I was part of Syngenta, where I was responsible specifically for digital agriculture in LATAM. We did some investments in a few companies. We did a lot of internal development, and finally we did some M&As that really helped to shape, right, the digital Syngenta digital as it is now. I've been with SP Ventures for over 2 years now, responsible for investments in agritech in Brazil and Latam. So my job now is kind of like, it's very easy, right? You saw in previous presentations that we have a very, very rich ecosystem. So our job is kind of easy thanks to Sergio and to Octavio, and really building those opportunities. So I'm going to try to talk a little bit about our fund, the opportunities that we see in the region, and also tell you a little bit about a company that, a recent investment that we did in a Canadian company, and hopefully, I mean, leave plenty of room for Q&A. Thank you, Carol. So we've been doing venture capital for over 12 years already. We run the oldest, or like we prefer to say, the most experienced VC firm in the region. We started the firm back in 2007. We were not focused on ag. We started as a generalist fund, and we invested in 8 companies in the first fund, and 50% of that portfolio was already agritech, right? And it was already in those days that we identified that definitely agritech, being this first in Brazil, it was perceived to be the best financial return and purpose-driven investment in the area of venture capital. So we raised our second fund back in 2014, a little bit over $40 million. We invest around 20 companies in the space, already 80% of those in agritech. And now we have a new fund reaching around 50% million, specifically for Latin companies, or companies that want to come to LATAM as a key and a strategic region. We raised this during the pandemic, and we're already doing investments actively. The last being Birch Ag, that is it's a Canadian company that I was telling you. So Carol, if you could change, please. So I'm sure that I'm going to repeat a lot of the information that you already see and hear in other presentations, but hopefully from the view of the investors. I'm going to use Brazil as a cornerstone as well, but we're talking about the greater Latin America business, right? Because being in Brazil also gives an opportunity to also to open to LATAM, and it is a great market overall. So for business, and not including, you could, can you change the next one, Carol, please? if we see specifically agribusiness, we already saw 24 or 25%, almost, it represents almost a quarter of our GDP, right? And not only that, but I think we are the most, it is the sector where we are the most competitive on a global scale. Marco really pointed out that we are #1 exporter of food in the world, agribusiness exporter, and we're #2 food producer, and we are on the rise, right? Hopefully to really take over the United States as the larger food producer in the planet in the upcoming years. We are the leaders in many of the top cash crops in the world, such as soybean, sugar. And when we look at Brazil, it is important to identify that only 40 years ago, as early as the late 70s, late 80s, Brazil was a net importer of food. Right? Over the past decades, we really make a productivity surge that really has transformed us into a global powerhouse. And we really become a powerhouse based on productivity. So it's been really productivity driven, producing more food per hectare with fewer inputs. And this really has consisted of what many people call the Cerrado miracle, the region where Octavio is based. So this was only possible with local innovation from institutions such as SALCE, really local science. And you already heard from other panelists. And we were able really to transform the Brazilian Cerrado into a major breadbasket. You could change, yeah. So one thing that we always tell investors and entrepreneurs, and this really resonates more and more during the COVID, is the resilient aspect of agritech as an asset class, which was always snubbed by many venture capitalists for being too slow, right? But the resilience of asset class agritech has become much more valuable, especially in these times. If we see other examples, for example, in 2015 and 2016, previous to COVID, we had in Brazil the worst economic depression in a generation. GDP shrink more than 7% over a 2-year process. And what was really interesting is the agricultural value chain really continued to prosper and perform even in those years. And with COVID is very similar. And the reasons I think are very well known to everybody. The industry does not necessarily depend on domestic market for consumption. It is very export oriented. So when the domestic market really slumps, the industry does not suffer that much. And second, it is an industry that, of course, the underlying product is dollar nominated. And last but not least, but perhaps just as important, the agribusiness groups in the region, they have been able to really perform a very strong advocacy and associations and really protect themselves from local and political interference in this industry. Next one, Caro. So when we talk about Brazil, we really need to talk about tropical agritech, right? And there are 3 major regions for tropical agritech. And why I bring that? They are really connected. There is Latin America, the center that I mentioned, and going all the way to Central America and down to the north of Brazil. There is the Sub-Saharan Africa, and there is also the Southeast of Asia. And even though we target specifically Brazil, right now, we understand that many of the potential innovations that have value for Brazil also could have value for Africa in the future, specifically to considering our commonality, right, on the tropical ecosystem. So if we think on the differences, right, from regions, there are a few things that are very, very different in Latin America. And this is very important, specifically for those entrepreneurs that are here in this conversation. Why are those important? Because they really have created kind of like a barrier to entry from other agritechs in the region. And we've seen many very solid agritechs companies from the US, from Canada, from Israel, and also from other ecosystems trying to make it launch and scale in Brazil. and they suffer a very difficult challenge in terms of product market fit and getting specifically their scalability adequate in the region. And the reason is because it is a very different agriculture. If you have a product that was focused to work in Europe, in Alberta, in Ontario, chances are that you are going to have to spend some time getting the code rewritten, calibrated, and the business model, of course, restructured. So that's what I like a lot, the conversation that you hear from Rhonda, that it is very important to really partner with the region and get that local challenge, that local support, right? And access as much as possible to local knowledge that is really going to make a difference. So in terms of what we've seen in the tropical ecosystem, we have a different biodiversity, different crops, but also different pests and diseases. We don't have, for example, the cold winters that freezes biological activity. So biological activity continues to go over through the whole year, meaning that sometimes the algorithms really need to be adapted. So if you're talking, for example, about forecasting or predicting a pest or predicting some problems, those characteristics are going to need to be recalibrated. So it is definitely a completely different ballgame. We have different infrastructure where we talk a little about the difficulties on connectivity. So it is really important for the entrepreneurs to take in considerations the differences that we have here. Next one, Caro, please. So I'm not going to repeat here, but if we look, when we look at the ecosystem, I can tell you that our team has been traveling all around the world. We already visited Israel, St. Louis, Canada, and the United States. And in Latam, and specifically in Brazil, we have one of the most decentralized and most scaled agritech movements potentially in the world. We have different major agri hubs connected specifically to different regions, and they are also very important because growers in Brazil are different from region to region, so it is important to have a local agri hub in each one of those points. Next one, Caro, please. So this is another picture of the ecosystem that Marco was talking about. So I'm not going to repeat that, but we have seen a lot of agritech activity, specifically now during COVID. Definitely what COVID did was to uncover, right, problems in our food chain that are really many of those new entrepreneurs are taking over those opportunities. And I think what is more interesting here is if we see the ecosystem from 7 years to now, at this time we're seeing startups that are working much more in much more of synergic solutions for the agribusiness. We see a lot of collaborations, and that is important. So we really mature over the time. That report that was launched yesterday together with Imbraca, SPB participated as well, many collaborations from different regions. We really have seen that we went from having pretty much 100% of the agritech movement inside the farm now to a much more systemic region. Next one, Caro. So this is the way that we see the ecosystem. So in terms of our investments, right? So we invest from pretty much from logistics to farm management systems to insurance. We have different verticals in where we really focus, but we focus in the full chain. We understand that this is really changing, right, from time to time. But at this time, this is our thesis for investment and what's happening specifically inside the farm, and there is a lot of activity abroad. Next one, Carol. So now I'd just like to go over one of the big bets that we're making in Canada. And this got a lot of attention because this was our first investment outside LATAM. Actually, this is the fund where we are investing in Latin America, but specifically, we invest in Imbraca, which is a Canadian company, and the reasons are very, very clear. This is a company that has definitely a great team. No doubts about it, but also they have a LATAM as a key market, and that is very important for us. And they also enter into Brazil already understanding that it's a different game. They access to local knowledge, and they partnership with a local company that is called TechRaf. And this for us was kind of like a differentiator, right? It was a sign that the company is really interested into understanding where are the differences in the region. And that's why we decide to invest in them as one of our bets for the fund. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an overview of what we see in LATAM, and now we are open to discussions, I think.
Thank you so much, Ariadne, for the great presentation. I think you also put the icing on the cake on the matter of how those companies need to envision, especially how a funding company, a capital company like SP Ventures are working at, and how do you guys actually do you guys actually handpick companies, right? It's a process, it's a thorough process where you identify, you evaluate, you prioritize, and you see the return on investments for you guys once you invest in a company. So on behalf of actually from Francisco Jardim and all the team, congratulations for all the work, great presentation. This is awesome. And with that said, I would like to invite Karen Chewett. She's the co-founder and CEO for Livestock Water Recycling. She'll be talking from us straight from Calgary, I believe, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, Calgary.
Excellent, Karen. So welcome to the stage.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I am calling in from Calgary, where it just stopped snowing this weekend. So one of our big interests in Brazil is the lovely weather, definitely. I'm going to share my screen. Last but not least, we'll be talking about what we're working on, which is manure. And I always say people get manure to go last because it's on the back end of everything, I guess. So livestock water recycling, our big claim to fame is that we make water from manure. We take in manure liquids from livestock facilities and turn that into clean water. And this is not even the most exciting thing we do. This actually turned out to be a nice thing to do, but we have more exciting things in store for you that I'll get into. My name is Karen Chewett, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of the business. So first off, this is just an example of a manure lagoon. This is at a hog farm, and this is in the US. But from our work in the US, we have started to work globally on manure lagoons, manure held in ponds, slurry ponds, and any type of manure held in tanks. So all over the world, we've seen the same problem, that manure is flushed full of liquid that's actually 95% water and only 5% manure. But as we've said, all over the world, keeping it in this same way, it makes this dilute liquid that's expensive to manage and difficult to manage. Small farms, large farms, they all come to us with the same problem. They don't know where to put this amount of liquid, and they're restricted on their land for a number of reasons, whether it be odor, whether it be nutrient management, whether it be runoff into the surrounding lakes or streams. There's always an issue around their manure. What we have developed is a system that is installed on farm and receives liquid directly from the barns before it ever goes to storage. It removes solids, liquids, and results in a clean water, a potable water that can be discharged. We separate out 8% of that influent liquid as solid, and that's full of organic, valuable phosphorus that can be used to recharge and regenerate soils for crop growth or sold. We also have a liquid nutrient fertilizer, and that has all of the valuable micronutrients that people are looking for to regenerate soils, like magnesium and potassium. And we're really short on that in our soils, and we really want to see that be put back into the soil from the farms, not lost anywhere. Our systems are all manufactured in Canada, and we sell them at 5 standard models. So that depends on the farm size. We can go from very small farms to very large, massive farms with 30,000 cows, or as small as 100 cows, or even less. We sell our systems in 2 stages, the first wave or the full plant, depending on whether you want to just remove solids or you want to go all the way to clean water. And this is a patented technology that we have a patent on worldwide, including Brazil, that we just got accepted last year. We put our systems on multiple industries. So that includes dairy, hog farms, beef farms, feedlots, also food processing. So anything where meat is processed, where there's paunch manure liquids or other solid liquids, so sugar processing or mushroom processing, or egg washing. We also work with biogas producers. So we bring that solid into biogas feedstock and produce nice bioenergy from that. As well, truck washes. We're working lately on a lot of truck washes where they are bringing the animals to the facilities and they need to wash those down and collect that manure. For renewable natural gas, we work on this in 3 ways. Originally, we started bringing solids from the farms to the biogas facilities, and that can produce nice bioenergy that has a really good value proposition for the farm. After the digesters, we can clean the liquid and we can sell that fertilizer through our fertilizer network. I think that most people have heard about the wonderful investment Nutrien is making into Brazil. I think they want to spend $1 billion in the country over the next 5 years. And Nutrien is a partner of ours that we're working with together with farms to try and sell fertilizers off of their farm that they don't need. Another way we can work on this is to bring multiple farms together into one central RNG facility, creating an excellent value proposition even for small farms that couldn't normally have a digester facility on their farm, but they can just send their solids, that 8% of their total manure flow, into a digester. We're doing this RNG work all over the US, and it's become really a huge growth industry in Brazil. And the nice thing about that is it can increase the farm revenue while reducing greenhouse gas emissions by up to 82%. The way we work on farm is we have a digital hoof print of all of the manure that is generated. We process that through our system and we digitize that. So we know exactly how much input they have from the manure. That means all of the NPK, all of the carbon, and then they can decide based on that on farm where they need to move that, whether they need to move it to biogas or whether they need to move it to the fields for crop growth or whether they need to sell it. That's a cloud-based system that we have developed in-house, and we collaborate with farm management software companies to inform the farm about other things to do with their animals with relation to the manure. Lots of people study the health of the animals, but we look at the manure and say, are the animals healthy? Are they converting feed properly? Are we seeing what we want to see from the digestive ecosystem inside the animal? Are they gaining weight properly? And if not, does this relate to the manure output? So, you know, lots of people look at the other side of the animals and what they're eating, but we look at their manure. I think we're special in that way. We have a MyPlant app that we developed, and this allows the farms to use and monitor their systems by their cell phone. So this gives them all types of analytics reporting. It has a nice dashboard that they can check and see if they've got multiple systems on site, and they can see all of their consumption as well as weather interactions. And we also have a machine learning platform that layers on top of this that gives us some predictive analytics as well. The value that we provide and the unique value proposition that we come up with for farms is that we are able to separate out the most solids from liquids on the market worldwide. So they can recycle the most water, get the best crop yields. We've seen some of our farms increase their crop production by 30% by precision applying the nutrients from our system rather than spreading just with manure en masse. They are able to increase their herd sizes. They're able to decrease the health problems on their farm, and of course, their greenhouse gas emissions. As well, in food processing, it's the same thing. We're able to increase the amount of clean water they have, make a more sanitized facility, better profitability and productivity in their food facility, and then again, decreasing any disease risk. That's a big factor when we're looking at zoonotic transfer of disease from animal to person. Now, why are we looking in Brazil? Of course, we've heard all the stats today about it, the most exciting growth market we can think of. And it was good to hear that they're looking to overtake the US as such a large producer and exporter. We see that as well, and we're making a huge investment in Brazil by establishing our patent here and by looking to partner and develop projects, pilot projects and lighthouse projects in the area. Of course, these are stats you all know about the massive market here. The important thing for us to discuss around our farm projects in Brazil is that while Brazil is a farm powerhouse, it still imported 26 million tons of fertilizer last year, which could be made up by using animal manure as fertilizer, or biological biosolids as fertilizer, and then not the need for so much importing of fertilizer. I think this represents a significant opportunity for manure fertilizer plants in Brazil, especially given that, especially pig manure, we've seen a promising resource for fertilizing tropical soils. Using an LWR system allows farms to impact 10 of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And this year we are treating over 1 billion gallons of manure annually at Livestock Water Recycling. Thank you very much, and please contact me for any more information. We're really excited about our avenues into Brazil.
Thank you so much, Karen. Really appreciate the presentation. Congratulations on your idea. And I'm glad to see that you guys have moved on the path of achieving yourselves on a global wide basis. But to be honest with you, you made a comment in the very beginning, but I would say I would just save the best for last. So manure never comes to last. Actually, we just saved the best for last because that's a huge idea. And honestly, you just poked my eyes off, because there was something I never thought about, really getting water out of manure for animal or even human consumption at all, right? So great work. And your experience with the patent, maybe I just want to throw you a quick question. How was your patent process, especially for Brazil? Because this is something that I know is very unique here for the country and very delicate, because there is a lot of bureaucracy. So if you can enlighten us just in a few minutes before I pass the ball back to Carol and Elisa, I think that would be nice to know for our folks that are watching us today.
Sure, thank you very much, and thanks for your nice comments there. The patent process was a bit difficult in Brazil. We applied for a patent in North America, and then a PCT application for worldwide applications, and we had to select certain countries that we wanted to make sure that our patent was applicable to, and Brazil was #1 on our list. But having said that, we applied in 2010 and we just got awarded last year. So it was quite a long process. We had to go back with many iterations, and it does take a lot of expense from using, with your lawyers to get that through. But we think well worth it in the end, because of the massive growth we're seeing right now in the market. I think this is just a perfect market for us to expand into. So it was well worth the trial, the trials that we went through to get that passed along. The trade commissioners have always been really helpful with us as far as just trying to work with us as getting connections, getting that through, getting translation help, and etc. But yeah, I mean, it was a bureaucratic process. It did take us quite a while, but we're happy to say we were successful.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that, because it's very important to say to all of us here that are watching us today is that it's important to have someone with the foot on the ground. It's the Chamber of Commerce, it's a board of lawyers, it's people that know the market. it doesn't matter if it might be a consulting company, but it's important to somebody local that understands the rules, the laws, and what's the process to make it happen. Unfortunately, it took too long. 10 years, a lot of time, but hopefully you'll be here for the rest of your life and your company's life, and we are very fortunate for that. So once again, on behalf of all our presenters today, I would like to thank everyone for watching us. We have some time for questions. I don't know if Carolina, if you would like to see if there are any questions available for the team, and we'll be more than happy to answer. There's a question for Karen, if I may get this started, from Gabriel Machado. He's saying, Harry, how do you deal with ammonia in a general way? And in addition, does it work from any manure?
Yes, any manure. Right now we're working on, as I mentioned, beef, hog, pork manure, and also manure that is in food processing facilities. And we call that paunch out of the body of the animal when it is processed. We also are working with some poultry groups around their egg wash and manure on the eggs, and then some poultry manure that's blended with other types of manure. So, lots of application for just removing biosolid from liquid. For the ammonia, we convert that through our process to ammonium and remove it as a solid, and then that turns into the fertilizer. So we extract that as well, and then that is part of the fertilizer product. If that is not applicable for the farm use, then we would move that off farm to another beneficial use using one of our partners like with Nutrien into their network and move it off farm.
Excellent. And actually there's another question from Gabriel, and this is more of a general question, and I'll probably have either Ariadne to answer. He is asking Ariadne, in general, apart from Internet of Things, apps, sensoring, and monitoring, which other trends of innovation markets would you forecast to be growing locally in Brazil and Canada?
I know, definitely, I think we have an opportunity specifically on systemic things, credit. We're seeing a lot of agritech fintechs that are going directly to make sure that growers have enough credit, so they're challenging the system. Logistics as well. We're talking about insurance. So many things that are already top of topic in their industry in Canada. They can definitely come to Brazil and really make a change. So those are the things that we see as potential synergies, other than the ones that already were pointed out.
That's perfect. Thank you so much. So we have another 5 minutes. Since we don't have questions, what I'd like to propose is a quick round, starting with Otavio for like a 1 minute, 1.5 minute farewell note, and just so we can, before we dismiss the session today.
Well, 1 minute. Okay, Marcos, thank you a lot. It was a great panel. For me, I think it would be really great to bring some new technologies from Canada. I think there are some trends that maybe you are more in other ground than us, like climate forecast, blockchain. I think these are other trends that we have to improve a lot here. And if you want to be here in Brazil to understand a little bit more about our opportunities, please let us know. You will be more than welcome here.
Thank you very much, Otavio. Thank you once again for AgriHub work. And Professor Sergio, any comments?
Well, I would like to thank you for this opportunity and say that we have a lot of connections with Canada regarding universities over there and the Exalc over here. And this kind of event like we have now, it's very nice in order to try to put together these connections regarding the innovation in agriculture and startups and things like that,
Thank you very much, Professor. Ariadne?
Very quick, I really want to thank Karen for her participation. It was fantastic. I think without entrepreneurs like herself and people really innovating the system, and really people with garra, Karen, it's the way that we talk here in Brazil, and really reaching to local knowledge is really important. So she is definitely an example, and reach out to her to really get more information about Brazil, and reach out to Octavio, to Professor Sergio. I think it is really, really relevant that you guys come connected, understand the system, and we want you to succeed, but it is impossible to succeed without the local knowledge.
Well said, Ariadne, and I make your words mine. And Karen, your last words for today?
Thank you so much. That's such nice compliments. I just want to say, you had mentioned at the beginning that the pandemic was, while so difficult for some, was actually such an interesting avenue for many ag tech groups. And we did see such a large purchase of meat worldwide, and then also with the African swine fever effect of China, we can really see this massive growth in and reliance on Brazil. And I think that the Brazilian agriculture production growing 3 times faster this year than before. We can't wait to dig in and just get engaged. So if anyone has any connections for me or anything that they'd like to send my way, please do.
Well, this group here for sure has many connections. All right. So thank you very much, everyone, for your time today, for watching us, especially for our speakers. Thank you, Peter Hawkins from BCCC, and thank you, Caroline from CCBC as well. Thank you, Elisa, for making this happen. Once again, it's a pleasure to be here, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you also for such a great discussion. And now we're gonna listen to the Canadian side. So it's a pleasure for me to introduce Sylvain Etier, founder at Fabric A, and Olivier Demet-Dussault, director at Zone Agritech. They are going to present an overview of the opportunities for agtechs in the Quebec. Welcome.
So should I launch it right away? It's such a pleasure to be invited in this event, because my name is Sylvain. I'm with the Fabric A. We are an organization, a center of excellence for business experimentation. So we are really close to startup. We are really close to the ones that are trying to develop new idea, to develop new innovation. And we have a particular interest in agtech, agriculture. We work with business from Brazil. So we see how it's difficult sometimes to come here in Quebec and understand. And I heard in the other panel that it's interesting to have someone that is from the place, know the ground. And I think that this is the way I want to present you, Olivier Demet, that is with us today, because he's really the person that know well the ecosystem in agriculture. And I will let him talk about AgZone. But my goal today is really to let him explain the ecosystem in Canada, how the relationship with Brazil is really strong, and it's a really interesting things to develop. And after that, if you have questions, put that in the chat. I will take them, and maybe at the end, maybe I will have a 10 minutes for discussion with Olivier on all the topics that he brings in. So go Olivier, it's your turn, and let the Canada shine in the eyes of the eyes of Brazil.
Yeah, thanks. No pressure at all based on that introduction. No, it's great, everyone. Thanks a lot. I'd like to start by thanking BCCC for the invitation. It's really a great honor to present the opportunities, or at least a little bit of what we're doing here in Quebec, Canada. Obviously, it's going to be a brief overview. 20 minutes is not enough, but I tried to focus on key indicators to really give you a taste of what's happening here and what kind of tools are at disposal for businesses who want to, come here and work on, specific ag tech opportunities. So as Sylvain said, I'm Olivier Demers. I'm Senior Innovation Advisor and Strategic Business Development for Zone Agtech. Zone Agtech, which is a world-class innovation hub based in Quebec, Canada. So we focused primarily on the growth of agtech and plant-based bioproduct companies. So just a quick definition of what that means for us. So agtech is really any set of technology or techniques or process that will, help growers adapt to climate change, reduce the environmental footprint of agriculture, and also allow us to lean towards some form of food autonomy or food sovereignty. And in terms of plant bioproducts, so it's really any set of solutions that allows us to transform in a value-added way plant-based biomass. So those are really the two areas that we focus on at Zone Agtech. So a little bit of why we should invest in agtech. I'm sure most of this information all of you here are already aware of, but really quickly, we are looking at growth of a world population, which needs to be addressed in some way in terms of food production. If we keep same production techniques, we are looking at an increase in arable land requirements of about 70%, which are the estimates if we conserve the same techniques. And I know it's quite small, but if you look on the bottom left of the screen I'm sharing right now, it shows what's going to be a challenge in terms of climate change for arable land. And Quebec is one of the rare sectors in the world, regions in the world, where we're actually going to see an increase in arable land availability because it's so cold here sometimes that climate change is going to warm up some land actually that we're going to be able to grow on, which has some the ups and downs, as you can imagine, but let's focus on the ups. So a big thing that has been put into light by COVID on our part is really the labor shortage. So we're looking at over 10,000 workers that are actually missing, which is over a quarter of what we actually need year in, year out to do to farm our produce. So that definitely drives innovation. So what kind of innovation can we put forth to answer that? Obviously, a lot of thinking is going into greenhouses, automation, and whatnot. So that's a big one. And also, as you might imagine, climate is huge in Quebec. We have 4 seasons, very hot during the summer, very cold during the winter, with spring and autumn that are there. And with climate change, that's 4 times whatever metric we want to multiply by. So that's really a challenge to develop agtechs, but it's also a great opportunity, meaning that if we can develop for that kind of challenging climate in terms of adaptation, that it's easily accessible for other regions in the world. So a great potential for international development as well. All right. Enough on that. So just a quick quote. So in order for agriculture to be sustainable, we have to think the future with new technologies and opportunity if we don't want to go back on the past's mistakes on that front. But you already know that, right? Okay, so down to the subject. What is Zone Agtech? What does it do, and what can it do for you? The Agtech Zone is a 15 square kilometer area just outside of Montreal, Quebec, Canada. So in really, really close to a major city. It's composed of about 3 million square feet industrial zoning with buildings that are there to host agtech companies with greenhouses all over on top of them. It's also an incubator, an accelerator. It's 12 hectares of farmland for research projects, experimental plots, and also greenhouses. So obviously us bidding on agtechs means that we need to put forth, really powerful levers for them to grow, deploy, and go international. So that's it's a one-stop shop. It's really a one-stop shop for your business. So we do invite business from all around the world, Brazil especially, to come here. Access to financing, so we can grant up to $250,000 for businesses that are in commercialization process for your innovation. And we already obviously have a lot of VCs, banks, and funding structures that are there to answer your needs. A lot of strategic support, which means personalized consulting with our whole team. We were talking about market assessment, so knowing your market to be able to rapidly invest the field that your business is looking to address. So that's all there. And we also offer, big businesses and structuring verticals, innovation or open innovation projects that we coordinate and feed with the whole of our network, which is growing pretty strong right now. So obviously all that comes with access to knowledge and talents. We have over 3,000 scientists that are readily available with already targeted expertise. And they know about the Zone Agtech, and they're more than interested to collaborate on your project. Also, Zone Agtech is in the middle of a farmland. So the region where it's situated, which is L'Assomption, is 80% farmland, with the whole diversity of what that means. All the crops are equally represented, more or less. So it's a very rich and diverse sector. And obviously, we're also a community of businesses and everything that you need vertically to develop your product, we have on site. So, yeah, I've touched, but yeah, that's good. So it's an over 400 million investment project. It's really big. It's really something that the Quebec province is putting a lot on. We're only officially a year old, but we've been in the making for the past 5 years, and hopefully I'll be able to show you a little bit of the projects, some of the projects that we've been working on in the past year. So that's just to give you a quick overview of the community that is very active in the agtech world. So top right, you have all the companies that are developing actual solutions right now. Bottom right hand, you're looking at knowledge partners. So that's universities, research centers, and even private-owned businesses that are actively involved. Bottom left hand is market access. So obviously you need market access. We've partnered up with the biggest greenhouses, fabricants, agronomists, the whole thing. So you have easy access to those that market acumen. And obviously top left is financing, which is cornerstone of what you need for your business. All right. So right now we're looking at over 175 members and partners. We've got more than 40 companies that are presently in Zone Agtech or working on the process to get there. And we've supported over 100 companies right now in their innovation process with the Zone Agtech community. And obviously, the international community is really important to us. So how to get inspired by the international community, make sure we don't reinvent the wheel at every turn, and make sure that if we do innovation, it's really for a specific purpose. So international corridors, obviously we work with France, with Netherlands, United States is a big part of what we do, also Morocco, and hopefully Brazil more and more as we move on. All right, so now down to the meat. What do we do? So a couple of examples here of the opportunities, or how the Quebec province is actively involved in supporting agtech development. So, oh yeah, part of those slides are going to be in French, but I'll say everything in English that is on those slides. So something that's really important for us is open innovation, and farmers do have a lot of specific needs that not every association can answer. So farmers will come to Zone AgTech with their specific needs, and we will build innovation programs for them to answer their specific problem they're looking to solve. So what does that mean? That means that this program, we've worked with 19 farmers who have had identified problems in terms of water access, soil quality preservation, labor shortage, greenhouse emission reduction. That was the aim. And what we did was go into our national and international network to look at solutions that were existing. We did, socio-economical, technical, economical evaluations of those solutions. And we started building projects for those companies so that there could be a profitable mix and match between those farmers and businesses that are currently developing solutions for their existing problems. So that's really a big part of what we do is, having the knowledge of what's needed on the ground and, going into that AgTech community and finding the best solution. And you know what, if the solution's out there, we'll most likely find it. We hope so, or we need your help. If we don't, we need your help to do it. And if there's no solution out there, we'll build it, we'll create it for sure. All right, so I'm hoping you heard of this. If not, there's still time. So the Deep Space Food Challenge is an initiative that was put forth by both NASA and the Canadian Space Agency. So the initiative here is looking at agtechs that can help build food production systems for long duration space missions. Meaning lunar missions and Mars missions. So food production systems that will sustain a crew for the duration of 3 years. So that involves quite a bit of knowledge. And obviously they're looking at solutions that can also have a positive impact on Earth. And why does that make sense? Because if your innovation is going to work for lunar missions, then you need to think of your technology in a very, very high efficiency circular economy approach, a resource value evaluation and integration. And that's how it's thought of. So you can actually still join Canadian teams if you want until end of July. Go on the website of Deep Space Food Challenge or Défi de l'alimentation dans l'espace lointain. If you want to join, it is open to international participants for sure. And if you're looking for teams to be matched with, we'll be more than happy to put you in contact with the right people there. So great opportunity. It's a challenge prize approach. So there is money prize for every step of the way for the solutions that are selected. And it's a great opportunity to develop that kind of technology. So that's a segment of what we do or what we can do also at Zone AgTech, or the kind of organization that we're used to collaborating with. All right, third, greenhouses. So greenhouses is a big thing in Quebec and in Canada, actually, because we need to mitigate that 4-season approach so that we can produce year-round for our food autonomy. Why is this one particularly interesting? It's because it's also an open innovation contest, and we're looking at everything that can help greenhouses improve their energy efficiency, or generally looking at IoT 4.0 AI integrated solution that could be tools to help master growers in greenhouses. So that's one. Secondly, Hydro-Quebec, for the ones that would know, is a government-owned-ish energy production company that supplies about 95% of the energy to the province. So it's hydroelectricity. And they are now getting involved in, financing innovation projects for greenhouses. So it's a really, really big statement on that organization and the government that this is a sector we want to see increase by at least twofold in the next 2 years. So that's doubling the amount of food that's produced in greenhouses, and we're probably even looking further up in the years to come. So I see that my 20 minutes is almost out, and I do want to leave some time for questions. So maybe I'll go over the next slides a little bit faster, but I'll give just enough so that we can perhaps discuss it.
And just before you move faster, Olivier,
Ouais.
Gabrielle have a question about if you can talk about, give a little bit more fact about the control environment agriculture. So if you have one slide that talk a little bit more about that, maybe slowing down on this slide for Gabrielle.
Yeah, for sure, Gabrielle. So controlled environment agriculture, in this case, we're really talking about greenhouses. So this program is not as much looking as into vertical farming solutions. It's really greenhouses, because controlled environment is usually an all-encompassing term for what's indoors. If you want to give me a little email there, I'll send you all the information about that open innovation contest, and I think it'll be probably best that way. But basically, they're looking for every and any company developing solutions that can help manage production and energy inside greenhouses, and it's an international contest. So it's open to everyone, including, hopefully, a lot Brazil. So that's that. So a little bit similar, but that's all encompassing for the agri-food tech business. There's a call for project managed by like province-wise. And we're now looking at solutions across the board for clean techs in agtech, specifically for indoor farming, open field farming, and bioproducts as well. I'm sorry if I'm speeding up a little bit. It's my bad. I should have made that presentation shorter. I just want to give a little word on personalized consulting services. So I've talked a lot on these structuring projects, but most of what I do day to day is personalized consulting services. So one-on-one approach and market acumen with businesses that do want to have their headquarters or a demonstration facility in Quebec in Zone Agtech. And we have a lot of different projects going from insect farming, automated net deployment for vineyards or small fruits, all the way to automation harvesting for broccoli, high efficiency refrigeration technologies, plant optimization by modified bond with radio frequencies. We really have it like drone technology. There's nothing we don't do. And if we don't do it, it's because we still don't know if it exists or not. So if we're lacking some knowledge in agtech, please come and see us. We'd be more than happy to have a chat. So that's a lot of what we do. And very rapidly on live activities that we do provide, we have the first acceleration program specifically dedicated to agtechs in the zone. That will be a recurring theme for sure. We do have highly customized innovation approach. So the pictures that you see here go from integrated food production systems with fish farming, vertical farming, and greenhouse farming that are all encompassed into one system. Those rotating leafy green production systems are actually in operation right now in one of our partner facilities. Greenhouse rooftops. So we are home to loofah farms, which is the largest rooftop greenhouses in the world, and their projects are growing with us as well. So quite a bit of opportunity there. And last but not least, and I'll finish up with that so we can have some space for questions, hopefully. We did produce a full ecosystem mapping of the Canadian agtech community, so that when you do come work with us, we can refer to you to anyone and any expertise across Canada that is useful for either your product development or your business growth or your business market acumen. So that's there for you when you come here. All right, I'll leave it to that. I hope that's all right. I went fast on over a lot of this stuff, but hopefully it gave you enough juice to so that we can enter a chat.
I guess it's hard to pack all we do in Canada and Quebec in 20 minutes and showing all our enthusiasm about everything that is happening, because like you saw, Zone AgTech is more like an aggregator of all different projects all around the world, and they really try to push innovation. So I don't know if the audience have questions, because it would be really the best if you have question specifically to Olivier. So I don't know if the question was answered correctly for Gabriel. Do you want to jump in and ask a little bit more details? Maybe not. So I do have question if we do have time. So do we have time for questions?
Yes, of course. Go ahead.
Okay, so can you tell us which sectors, key sectors, where the government is investing right now in Canada? So if we have here around that say, oh, the opportunity of doing business, so what will be your key sectors, your key activity sectors?
Yeah, that's a really good point. You know, answering for the whole of Canada would prove a challenge, because every province has its own kind of strategic vision. What I can say for Quebec province is there's been some really clear signals on at least 3 fronts. Greenhouses is one. So the government of Quebec has put not only a vision, but also funding behind that, a lot of funding for greenhouse producers across the board, be them really small bio-intensive producers to, you know, large scale greenhouse production over, you know, a couple of hectares of greenhouses. That's there for their investment in greenhouses, but also innovation and technology development. So definitely greenhouses have had the ear of the government. The other one is regarding sustainable farming. So there's really clear KPIs on pesticide reduction. So it's a clear objective. It's a 5-year plan. There needs to be over 500,000 liter reduction of pesticide use in Quebec for the next 5 years. So every and any approach that can help that is obviously very well regarded. And also something that's taking a bigger and bigger toll is every and any approach to big data and AI for farmers. So the numerization of agriculture is something that is still kind of starting, or at least it's happening in a very unstructured way right now. And the message that has been sent specifically through our innovation minister is try to present some projects that will structure that, or leap start some of those branches quite well. So yeah, we are I'd say those are probably the 3 big ones.
And I do have an example for the second one, the sustainability, where we have a Brazil startup that came here. They wanted to know if their drone system could help using less pesticide. And then just to normalize everything, so they did a lot of research here. And at the end, they said, well, it's really similar to Brazil, how, you know, the farmers are similar in Brazil that they are here in terms of you know, when new technology, you have to go slow, you have to bring the value, you have to show the innovation how it works. So there's a lot of work to do with the farmers. So you really need to work with the startups and the companies that come here and see how the regulation works here and how you can leverage all the funding on these issues. So they already have in Brazil a lot of different technology and innovation for that. So they can test here, and Ag Zone is a zone for that.
For sure, every opportunity we've been presented with working with Brazil-based companies, we've converted it into successful endeavors, for sure. So we're more than open to that.
Do you have an example? Because here, Gabriel, do you cooperated in joint R&D projects with foreign startups? What is the standard for IP in such a case? Do you have already a case study for it? It's already on the table. What we do with IP.
It's really specific. Perhaps I can have a one-on-one chat with Gabriel. So, but to start answering at least the R&D cooperation. There's two avenues that are probably the easiest to move forward on that. It's either partnering up with the Quebec-based companies if your intention is to have your main activity stay in Brazil, and then of course you know, the funding, Quebec-based funding and Canada-based funding is readily available. And it can be quite generous on research programs. So we can be talking from, you know, up to 70-80% of financing for specific research projects. And the IP, the intellectual property that comes out of those research projects really depends on the kind of talks you have prior to the project launch with your partnered company or the research center itself. However, most of the time it's structured around the advantageous IP property for the companies that are already obviously bringing these projects forth, and, you know, leaving some form of liberty for the research institutions to publish some form of results, but obviously always protecting the IP of the company. The other avenue is quite similar, is you incorporate a portion of your activities in Quebec, and then you can lead on either the research or partner up with every and any company you like for those research projects.
So maybe we can lead with the last question here. And do you work with Ostara? Do you know Ostara? Maybe we're gonna make a new connection.
We've not worked with Ostara yet.
So the person, Gabriel, do you want to explain a little bit? I think it works a chat with Olivier at the end. You had a lot of questions about IP, and I think it's more a chat. Maybe just to close the thing, maybe to talk about the future. What do you think will come for the next 2 years? Because it's fun to know what is happening right now, but if you want to prepare a little bit, you try to forecast a little bit what will happen. So I know it's hard to predict. So I put you in a weird position, but just to try and just for the fun of it.
Yeah. Well, predicting the future is we're trying to look far ahead to see to kind of try and guide the innovations that we'll be needing tomorrow, today. For sure, you know, climate change is going to be for me the biggest thing. We need to address that. So every and any technology that can help us, you know, adapt to climate change will help and we'll invest in. That's for sure. Every and any technology that leads us closer to food autonomy is one. And, you know, think health, soil health, and environment protection is going to be those two. AI for me is a tool that can help. It's not an end in itself, but yeah, that's also an interesting avenue. So, all right,
so that's it. If you have another question, maybe just contact Olivier. I put the email on the chat, so it will be super easy for you to join him. And if your project go into Ag Zone and you start doing experimentation, maybe we're gonna meet again, because this is what I do, helping companies to experiment and find the ways to develop business here. So I hope it was a lot of value for you. It was a real pleasure for us to showcase a little bit what happened in Canada, and we'll be pleased to continue this conversation. So thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you for your time, everyone. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Sylvain. Thank you, Olivier. I'm having issues with my camera here. I don't even know if you guys can hear me. Because
yes,
yes, we can hear you just fine, Carolina.
I'm trying to turn the camera on somehow. Every time there's a message that pops up, this whole Zoom goes glitchy. But I would like to thank you guys very, very much for this presentation. It's impressive what's going on, I think, in both ecosystems. And again, more and more, I think it's repeating in the speech, there's so much room for collaboration between Brazilian and Canadian companies and ecosystems in general. And I think this event's a great start to even help connect the ecosystems in order to provide more innovation for agriculture. So while my camera doesn't come back, I would like to then, since we're coming to an end for this event, to invite Luis de Cessa, partner at Sescom Barrier, to say a few words. See, camera is on again. To say a few words for the closing remarks as well before we close the event. So Luis, thank you so much for being here, and stage is yours.
Well, thank you, Carol. Are you listening to me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So thank you for the opportunity to wrap up this incredible event. As you told me, I'm Luis de Cessa. I'm a partner at Sescom Barrier, focused on IP and tech issues mainly. So I completely understand what Karen said about the challenges of having a patent here in Brazil. So I'll just start with a brief introduction of my firm, and then I wrap up the event here. So as you know, Sescom Barrier is a full-service Brazilian law firm, very traditional in business law, but I think it makes much more sense for me to focus on what we do in what we call as a tech desk. Basically, we have created this group composed by multidisciplinary lawyers involving like IP, data protection, tax, corporate litigation, all kinds of practices, lawyers, in order to study the market and develop alternative fee arrangements for the sector. So basically, we provide legal assistance to early stage companies developing the business, to large companies preparing to the IPO. Making connection with what we saw today, I would highlight our experience in advising startups aiming at receiving seed or VC or CVC money, funds, large companies seeking for open innovation practices, partnerships with startups, or even when they M&A in order to speed up the learning curve and get into the market more faster, right? So today was a super exciting day for me. I learned a lot from everything that everyone said. It definitely relates to my day-to-day activity here at Sescom. I was familiar with the efforts from Mrp, Imbraca, FAPESP, SP Ventures, but I'm really positively surprised with what the other entities shown today, presented today, which is basically amazing. Brazil is definitely one of the largest markets here for agtech, for sure, given the specificities of our country, the geography, the main activities where we develop our efforts. And I would say that we are definitely one of the countries that takes most benefits out of the new inventions related to the agtech business. More recently, I have seen a growing number of new ventures developed here in Brazil, mainly because we have more educated entrepreneurs and more money and more investors believing in the potential of how Brazil implements new techs and foster innovation here. With respect to trends, I've been working a lot with 5G and IoT solutions. I think this will be like a game changer. It already is, as you know, as has been said today, but this, as soon as it is comes into like regular day-to-day activity, as soon as 5G is implemented and all the IoT solutions can be put into market, into the ag market here in Brazil. I'm pretty sure this will be a game changer, and then we will be seeing like drones, artificial intelligence tools, more blockchain, biotech to control plagues, things like that in a more volume for sure. So fintech is other thing that has been mentioned today that have substantial synergy and is something that we are really related to. So I was happy to see how this has been put today in our event. And I think this is what I had to say for today. I'm really happy to hear everything that has been said, and I would like to put myself available in order not only to clarify more about SESCOM, but to clarify IP, maybe related issues that has been said today. I'm totally available to discuss. We as a firm are happy to say that we are partners of the CB chamber, and it's a real pleasure to be here talking to you.
Wonderful. That's just a wonderful presentation, Luis. Thank you so much. And thank you very much for your participation. Carolina and Elisa?
Thank you, Luis. It's a pleasure to work with SESCOM. Been working with you. SESCOM is one of the sponsors of their event. So we really appreciate you being here today, Elisa.
Thank you, Luis. Thank you again for wrapping up the event. On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to thank you all for participating in our third session of the Brazil-Canada Agriculture Forum. And we look forward to see you again next Wednesday, June 2nd, for the final session, which will present all the details regarding the sustainable agriculture in Brazil. Carol?
I just wanted to, again, thank all our speakers, our audience, our partners for the support and for putting this event together. I think today was a great discussion. I learned so much. And I just wanted to repeat what has been said. There's so many similarities between Brazilian and Canadian agriculture. There's so much opportunity for collaboration. And I'm really happy to be here with our sister chamber, the CBC, promoting this event and those opportunities and helping to connect the ecosystems. Because again, we do believe that there's a lot of room for collaborations. I would like to also thank our sponsors for their support: Vale, Export Development Canada, SESCOM Barrier, Brookfield, Lundin Mining, Toronto Stock Exchange and the TSX Venture Exchange, Nutrien, Fairfax, Mellowhawk Logistics, and Port St. John for the support, and Brookfield as well. Sorry for forgetting, and Brookfield as well for their support. Without your support, those events wouldn't be possible. And then again, all the speakers and our partners, the Embassy of Canada in Brasilia, the Embassy of Brazil here in Ottawa for their support, and all the companies involved. So we hope that you enjoyed the session. We hope to learn a lot. And if there's any connections that you need or any support that you need from either the chambers, both the BCCC base here in Toronto, the CCBC base in São Paulo, please connect with me, connect with Lisa, and we'll be happy to help you. So thank you very much for being here. And